Hey y'all, in this video we're going to get into saving G-code, and I'm going to be putting particular emphasis on some of the new features that were introduced in the Vectric Software latest release version 10.5. If you are using a version of Vectric Software 10.0 or earlier, some of this will not apply to you. I will refer you to my previous video on saving G-code, which was part 4 of the Vectric for the Absolute Beginner series. And I'll put a link to that up here in a card right about now. And I'll also put a link to it down in the description box of this video. For this demonstration, I'm going to be using Aspire version 10.505, but this works exactly the same way in Cut2D Desktop and Pro and VCarve Desktop and Pro. Now, I have 2 sessions of Aspire going here. The first one is this one here. It was a 2.5 versus 3D carving demo I did back in part 36 of the Vectric for Absolute Beginner series. And I have this double-sided project that I did back in part 30 of this same series. And I'll put links to both of these videos down in the description of this video. But we're going to start with the simpler file first. We'll go over here to our Toolpath tab, and we have all of our toolpaths calculated here. This is after all of the artwork is finalized. We've previewed the toolpaths, and everything is correct. We've saved the file, and now we're ready to save G-code to take out to the machine to cut. In the past, what I've done has been go down this list manually and just look for which bits each one of these toolpaths uses. And then I would put a check mark in the toolpaths that I wanted to save G-code as a single file. Then come up here to Save Toolpaths and select Visible Toolpaths to one file, make sure I have those 2 checked, and then save my toolpath. As you can see, there are a couple of new options here. So let's close that for a minute and uncheck these, and we'll get into some of these options. Vectric has introduced a way to organize our toolpaths out here and make them easier to find and easier to organize. One of those is I no longer have to go down here and manually search for every toolpath that uses the same bit. I can select a toolpath just arbitrarily, right-click, come down here to Show All with this tool. I'll click on that, and you can see it puts a check mark in every toolpath that uses that exact same tool. Before we go any further, let me say that it's important to have your order of operations established and set up before you do this. Because, for instance, it has selected my profile cutout. I want to deselect that. I always run my profile cutout last on its own separate toolpath. The main reason I do that is so I don't make a mistake and run a file and have the profile cutout completed before I'm finished with any other work out here. I don't want this cut out and risk it breaking loose when I still have V-carving to do or 3D carving to do. So I always run my profile cutout last as a separate toolpath. So with these two selected, automatically I can come up here and select Visible Toolpaths to one file, and there they are. I can save that toolpath, GCode, and go out and cut those on the machine. For organizational purposes out here, VCarve has also given us the ability to group toolpaths. So, for instance, it's now showing me these two toolpaths. I can group them right here in the toolpath list. I'll just right-click the selected toolpath title and come down here to Group Visible. And what that'll do is create a group, putting those two toolpaths inside that group. I can come down here, click on the VCarve toolpath, right-click, Show All with this tool, and that selects those two. I can then come down and group those visible. So I have all of the tools that use my 90-degree V-bit in a group, and all of the tools that use my 1/4-inch end mill, with the exception of my profile cutout, in a group. Now, to save the GCode within a group, I'll just select the group name, come up here to Save Toolpath. Let me make a distinction here. I have selected the group name. It's in blue. These are checkmarked. Notice the toolpaths that I have up here in the toolpath list. They are the center hole and the pocket. The group name. The reason these are here on the list is because I have selected toolpath selected up here. If I check this box, Visible Toolpaths, these are the ones that it's going to save. So, to avoid confusion, if you're going to calculate using the group name, use the selected toolpath. If you're going to calculate the visible toolpaths to one file, then you select using the check marks. These are visible, this is selected. So hope that helps you to avoid confusion. Now, I have to say that putting a check mark here and using visible toolpaths to one file does exactly the same thing as selected toolpath. Okay? You still have the same two toolpaths on the list here. So, I'll go ahead and I'll click Save Toolpaths. Now, because I'm saving the group, it's taken on the group's name. So I will probably want to change that. I would go with 0.25 inch end mill. And in fact, I would make a note here that this is the first toolpath I want to run. Now I need to go into the correct folder, and I can save that toolpath. Then I can come down here to Group 2, select, and Save Toolpath. And here I would go 90-degree V-bit, save. Then I would obviously save my finishing and my profile cutout. And when I come down here and go into the Carve Demo folder, there are the toolpaths I have saved. Whether you're selecting by group, selected toolpath, or via the check marks, visible toolpaths, they both accomplish about the same thing. but they allow you to organize out here. Now, if I should want to get rid of a group, I don't need the groups. I've only got 6 toolpaths here. It's not really worth grouping. I can delete the group without deleting the toolpath. And that's simply right-click the group name, come down here to delete this. It's giving me the warning, would you like to delete the sub-toolpaths or keep them? I want to keep these toolpaths. I just want to delete the group. So I'll click on Keep. The group is gone, but my toolpaths are still there. I'll click on Group 1, right-click, delete this. I want to keep the toolpaths. There we go. And now I'm back to where I was before I did any of this. So you can group the toolpaths out here. Now there's another way of doing this. I hope this doesn't confuse everybody. And that is to select everything except my profile cutout. I want to keep that separate again. Come up here to Save Toolpaths. And I want to save the visible toolpaths to multiple files. I'll select that and make sure I have a check mark in Group Where Possible. Now we see here what it's done. It's going to group this toolpath with this one because they use the same bit. It'll group this toolpath with this one because they use the same bit. Then it'll calculate this one or save this one separately. I'll come down here to Save Toolpaths, and we see it has taken on the name Centerhole. It's going to name all of these different GCode files Centerhole, and I don't want that to happen. I'm going to call this Carving Demo because that's the name of the file. So I'll type in Carving Demo and I'll save it. Now when I come down here to the folder, go into Carve Demo, we see it's created these 3 GCode files. The first one showing me Carve Demo, Toolpath 1 and 2, and it's taken on the name Centerhole. It's taken the first 2, Toolpath 1 and 2, saved it to one file. This one here, it's taking Toolpath 3 and 4 and saved them to one file. Then it's taken the 3D Finish and saved that one to its own toolpath. Now because I want to keep my profile cutout separate, I'll need to come up here, select it, go to Selected Toolpath to make sure it's there, and I'll save that toolpath as Profile Cutout. I'll go ahead and call it Carving Demo Profile Cutout just for continuity's sake, and save that. So now when I come down here to my folder, there are all the files. There's all my GCode files ready to go outside. Now, this was the more simple file, believe it or not, because it's a single-sided file. I'll close this, and we'll go into the other session of Aspire, and we'll get into my double-sided project here. And I'm working with the top of the project here. Go over to the Toolpaths tab. It has a couple of toolpaths down here that use the same bit. So I'm not going to concern myself with grouping them. I'm going to select them all. I'm going to come up here to Save Toolpath. And I want to save all the visible toolpaths to multiple files, group where possible. And now because I'm in a double-sided project, this is available to me. I can add which side of the project this is to the toolpath name. So, I have all the visible toolpaths, group where possible, and add side to the toolpath name. I'll come down here and click Save Toolpath, navigate to the correct folder, and I'm going to call this T-lids because that's the name of the file. And I'll save. Now if I come up here to the folder, we'll navigate to the correct folder. There are my toolpaths for the top of this project. Then I can come back in here and I can amend the names to indicate 1/4 inch end mill, 1/8 inch tapered ball nose, then 90-degree V-bit. There is no way right now to do that automatically. It saves these 3 files based on this list here. So that's the top of my project. And that's rather simple. Now we'll close this, uncheck all of these. I'll switch over to the bottom of the project. And here we have something slightly different. Again, I have profile cutout for all of these. But I also have these locating dowel holes that's marked cut in the table. That's because this uses a different bit than the other 3. These 3 here will use a down cut spiral end mill. This one will use an upcut spiral end mill because I want to drill holes using an upcut spiral. I'll go ahead and check all of these, then uncheck the dowel holes. I don't need to group these. They all use the same bit. I don't need to go to multiple files. I'll just click on Visible Toolpaths to one file. They all use the same tool, but I do want to add the side to the toolpath name. And Save Toolpath. And here I would just add 0.25 inch end mill because it's only going to be one file. I need to amend that again as a note to myself that this is the downcut end mill. And I'll save. Then uncheck those. Select this one here. Go to Selected Toolpath. Again, blue is selected. Check marked is visible. I'm going with Selected Toolpath. There it is in the list. Add side to the toolpath name. Save Toolpath. And I will amend this to say 0.25 inch upcut end mill cut in table. Save. Close. And now when I go down to the folder, I have the 2 GCode files needed to cut the bottom and the 3 GCode files needed to cut out the top. The dowel holes will be carved first. Then my material gets flipped over. Then these get cut in order. Profile cutout will be last. Using groups for toolpaths helps you to organize those toolpaths, helping you to locate all of the toolpaths that use a single tool, and grouping them helps you to organize, especially if you have a long list of toolpaths. Whether you decide to group your toolpaths or not, the Save Toolpaths form now gives you several ways of grouping or organizing those toolpaths based on the complexity of the project you're cutting out. Now let me stop for a moment here and address the elephant in the room, and that is the post-processor. This is the single most crucial part of this entire operation. It is crucial that you use the correct post-processor for your machine or your controller software. If you use a machine that has a proprietary controller, like the Avid CNCs here, an Axiom CNC, just any of them on this list, Bob CNC, Bridgeport, you get the idea. If your machine is on this list, or you know you have a proprietary controller, CNC Shark, whatever, go to the manufacturer's website or send them an email and ask them which post-processor is appropriate for your machine. If, like me, you're using one of the generic controller softwares, in my case, I'm using Mach 3. My post-processor is the Mach 3 Arcs Inch because I use Imperial. If I were using metric, it would be the Mach 3 Arcs Millimeters. Again, I can't stress it enough. It is crucial that you use the correct post-processor before you save any toolpaths. Using the wrong post-processor will give you unpredictable results. It may not move at all. It may work just fine. Then again, it may do something that damages your machine. Do not use a post-processor that you are not certain is the correct one. So again, if you're using one of the generic software programs, Mach 3, Mach 4, UC-CNC, Linux CNC, contact the software publisher to find out which post-processor is appropriate for your use. If you have a proprietary controller, Laguna, Legacy, Axiom, etc., contact the machine's manufacturer and ask them which post-processor is appropriate for your machine, and follow their recommendations. So, I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, I do hope you'll give me a thumbs up. And I'd like to remind you that this afternoon at 12 Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, I'll be hosting a live Q&A session right here on my YouTube channel, where we'll discuss everything I've mentioned in this video. Again, that's noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on my YouTube channel, and I'll put a link down in the description box of this video. Now, these live Q&A sessions are a lot of fun, and we have a good group of people that tune in regularly, so I hope you'll join us. They're also a good excuse to go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And when you click that red subscribe button down there, click that little bell next to it. Then click it again and select all notifications from that list. That way, you'll get a notification the next time I post a video and the next time I go live. So, I hope to see you this afternoon for the live Q&A session. And as always, whether you subscribe to my channel or not, I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time to watch, and y'all take care.